Amber, hi, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for being here. I'm going to do a quick presentation, introduction of you. So here we go. Amber, you are a dedicated spiritual explorer and guide. Your journey is one of deep personal transformation and profound connection to ancient wisdom. From a young age, you felt a pull towards a more understanding of existence, a drive that led you to explore various spiritual teachings. However, you found your true resonance in a unique self guided path, one that emphasized inner wisdom and direct experience. Your work is deeply rooted in the seven essence mirrors, a powerful healing model that reveals how our outer reality reflects our inner selves. This exploration led you to rediscover ancient builder races and profound depths of self discovery available through this model. You have also integrated the scientific research of the HeartMath Institute, cultivating the healing power of the heart and deepening your intuitive abilities. Your journey has taken you through the rediscovery of multidimensional truth and the ancient cosmic crystal dragon teachings, leading you to profound understanding and practice of the law of one. Your mission is to share these insights, modalities, and activations, empowering others to reconnect with their multidimensional remembrance and navigate life with wisdom from the sacred crystal heart. Welcome to the podcast.
Yay! Thank you, Matt. That's so well summarized. Thank you. I was just juggling here because my phone was going off and I thought I turned it on silent, but it was still making some noise. So now it should be fine.
All
But thank
good.
you.
All
That's
good. We have all these kind of sort of issues from the beginning, so let's
yeah,
just
exactly.
continue. We'll get there.
AI infiltration,
Yeah.
right?
Tell me, I really always like to start with the same question, actually. I like to introduce guests who was Amber before and who is Amber now. So, what led you to this, spiritual awakening or change of the life path? And if you could share that with us, and then we'll go into depths of ancient wisdoms and mirrors and all other stuff. So,
Okay, sure. Yeah, of course. Well, first of all, I wanted to say thank you so much, Matt, for having me. I talked to you before all of this, and I shared a little bit with you that I actually was a little bit anxious about coming online, but you really calmed me down and made me feel at ease. So I just wanted to thank you very much for that and
you're
holding
welcome.
that space with me. But that's a good question to begin with. What led me towards this path, right? Yeah, I think it goes for most of us that obviously we don't all live like a very happy and easy and like a flowering blooming life, which leads you down this spiritual path, right? Most
Hmm.
of the times it's a path that comes with hardship and in my case a lot of heartbreak, and it was actually, those types of things that also led me towards diving deeper within myself and, wanting to explore more about what it actually was that I was facing in my own reality. So, if I'd have to share a little bit about that, I think I was actually like a pretty normal, like girl, like a pretty normal person, I would say. Like growing up, I grew up in a loving family. Like I was very close to my mom, to my dad, to my sister. We threw lots of dinner parties, all of these types of things. So I, in the beginning, to be really honest, I didn't think there was anything wrong with my life. I just thought, oh yeah, I'm happy. But then, as I grew older, like in our family, alcohol was always a thing. So it was always served with every, like occasion, and that would be, the occasion would sometimes be like a Monday evening at home, and then it would be a Wednesday evening at home. So, I kind of grew into that. Um, and then I guess, I just started living my life from there. So I never really had an idea of, like what it was that I wanted to do. Um, so I actually worked as a dental assistant for a couple of years. Then I did like a teacher traineeship, and I became an English language teacher. But still, I never really knew what I wanted to do. I just knew that I had to do something, right? Because yeah, well, you're also not going to do nothing. So I just thought, okay, that's what I'm going to be doing. So I did that, and I just continued living life, really. The one thing that was always very prominent in my life was that there was a sort of a red thread, I would say, with me having like very, very, very bad relationships with men. So I remember, from such a young age, when I was like 13 years old, like the first ever boyfriend, if you could call it that, which was very young, right, at 13 years old.
Yeah.
But my very first ever boyfriend, like he robbed my parents, and my dad went bankrupt, and he lost his company because of that. So already at a very young age, there were like some trust issues that were starting to build up, and that was actually like the red thread that always continued. So I guess I was just always, yeah, I don't know, like trying to look for love or so. And obviously, I was still looking that outside of myself. I didn't know that it was actually something that could be found inside, right? Um, so that was always something. And I would say, actually, like my social life actually gotten a bit in the way of what it is that I wanted to do during the day.
Hmm.
So, like alcohol would get more prominent. At a certain point, I also started doing drugs. And these things would get like progressive up until a certain point where I actually, actually, I kind of, like, I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was great, like going to places, going to
Oh, it's fun
parties,
then. It's fun
right?
then.
I wouldn't have
It,
missed it for the world, right? But
I've
I
been
didn't.
there. I've been there. I know it's fun. It's fun.
Right? Yeah, I didn't see anything wrong with that up until the point where it actually didn't, like um, give me anything anymore. So the disadvantages started to get like bigger, and they started to be more out there than whatever I gained out of it, right? So that's the moment where I actually started to question, like, okay, is this behavior actually serving me? And I believe right around that time, I started to noticed some things in my body, that were changing, and it was like a certain condition that I had, and I went to the doctor for this. Like, it's a little bit private, so I don't really want
Yeah,
to share.
it's okay.
But I went to the doctors for this, and they told me like, yeah, no, it's a condition, and it's in your body, and it's never going to be cleared from your system anymore. And that actually like drew my interest because I thought, that's weird, like I don't understand that there's something in my body that can never be healed anymore. So that's actually what started off like my healing journey, like me starting to research, like, okay, what's that? Can I do anything about it? Is there like any other paths that I can explore? Yeah, mostly that. And at that same time, I also decided to stop alcohol and stop doing drugs. So I was actually around that time I was teaching, so I was traveling around the world. So I was living in Hong Kong, I believe it was at that time. um, and I decided to move back to Europe because I met my ex-boyfriend there. I decided to move back to Europe, and we said we would settle down in Germany, in Munich. And I said, okay, that's a good time for a change. Let me change things around now, and let me stop all of that. So yeah, I guess that's where my spiritual research started. And
So the health issues and just because, with alcohol and drugs, they're fun until you realize that emptiness, it's going to
yeah,
be still there even if you do much more or whatever, right? So whatever quantity you take, you next day something is missing, right? So been there, done that. Yeah.
absolutely. And I think, when you're younger, like you don't even realize, that it's actually kind of a void that you're trying to fill. Like, yeah, you do
Mhm.
know, like that obviously your whole body changes the day afterwards, and you have a hangover, and all of the hormones change and all of that. But I wasn't even aware of that at that point. It was just like
It's
me.
because it's such a program that it's normal, right? So alcohol is part of the society. It's normal, right?
Exactly.
And it's
Yeah,
like, oh yeah, that's kind of okay. Everybody's doing it's everywhere advertising and basically kills the most people in the world than any other drug, destroys
absolutely.
more families or and so on. So um, and that led you to uh, essence mirrors, right?
Yeah, they're called the Essene mirrors, but yeah, you're
Essene,
actually
that's the
right.
correct. Yeah, I
Yeah,
was like, yeah, I'm not pronouncing that one properly.
doesn't
I
matter.
didn't even before. I was like, that's not correct.
That's not it.
Okay, so there are seven of them. Okay,
That's true.
so
Yeah.
because could you explain an example of the concept of that?
Absolutely. Yeah, it was actually also already very early in my spiritual journey that I was actually introduced to those. So,
Okay,
the way I started off was actually very interesting. I was living in Cyprus at that time, so we were a little bit in Germany, didn't like it there, moved to Cyprus, and that's where I actually really started to meditate. So I went to a Buddhist monastery that I found in Cyprus, was going to meditate there with the monks, and then shedding like all these layers that I build around myself. And um um I remember at that time when I was going to the monastery, I thought, okay, so now I'm going to monastery and now I can't do my nails anymore, and now I'm going to monastery and now I can't wear any makeup anymore, because yeah, now that's the path that I'm going to take, right? So I continued like that for a little bit, and then I thought, no, but wait. If they would have wanted me to be a monk, I would have been born in a different country, right? I would have been born there. I would have already been in a monastery. That's not what they want me to do. I was born a Western girl in a Western country, working this avatar that I have. So I guess I'm going to have to do it my way. And around that time, I was actually introduced to the model of the seven Essene mirrors, and
okay,
I gotten to a teacher of mine, which was actually like helping me, like starting to understand my emotions, starting to reframe some of my thought patterns, and like how regular spiritual
yeah,
process starts. And she introduced me to the seven Essene mirrors. And there was one teacher at the time that was particularly teaching this, and actually, I believe one of the only people really teaching this to a wider public, which is Greg Braden. And she sent me a video of his, and where he was explaining the seven Essene mirrors and how we could use them. And I just remember, like hearing about those mirrors, and I just thought there is something about them. What is it with those mirrors, right? I don't know. Not knowing, that that was going to be my model that I was going to be utilizing in my own life to purify my own shadow parts of self. But anyway, so the seven mirrors, basically what they are, Matt, they are a model that was left to us by the ancient Essenes. And maybe it's interesting to share a little bit about who the Essenes actually were.
sure,
But first of all, what's good to know? It's a model for purification.
okay,
So it's actually seven mirrors that are being used to purify whatever um, mental, emotional, energetical patterns, um, um, we have in ourselves that don't do justice to the place where we want to go to, or don't serve us anymore. And you can use it in purifying those parts of yourself. Um, the Essenes, they were actually like, we all know them as a Jewish sect, right? Most of the people know them as a Jewish sect.
okay,
So they used to live in Qumran near the Dead Sea in Israel. And they were actually like, you had like the Sadducees, you had the Pharisees. They were living in like different, yeah, parts. of their communities. But basically, what most people know them for is for their Dead Sea Scrolls
Okay.
that were found in the caves in Qumran, and they were found in 1947. And what those Dead Sea Scrolls were, they were actually big paper rolls of manuscripts that they found, and they're actually one of the most ancient copies of the Old Testament that we still have up until this day. So that's what the most people know the Essenes for. You know, they know they lived in Qumran. We know they were Jews. One of the things that is also very well known to people is that Yeshua was actually an Essene, and he would have been brought up by the Essenes. You know, he would have learned with the Essenes. He would have walked with the Essenes. So that's kind of like the basic knowledge that is out there about the Essenes.
Okay.
What, from the Law of One perspective, the Essenes are actually a lineage that came from our ancient builder races. So they were actually, they held knowledge of our original Eani teachings. So they had access to the Law of One. They had access to those 12 CDT plates, to the records, you know, our Christed records of, you know, like our timelines,
Mhm.
our 15-dimensional time matrix. So yeah, they actually knew way more. What's maybe also a good thing to bring up is that if you look at, you know, like the word Essenes, the Essenes were actually also our original 12 tribes that were seated on Earth for the first time when humanity was seated on Earth. So we know, right, that the angelic human lineage, the Turanesium experiment, as it was called, like the first experiment happened on Gaia, sorry, on Tara, mistaken, on Tara. And after the fall of Tara, the angelic human race was once again seeded on the physical earth through this 12 Essene tribes. So the 12 Essene tribes were actually the original races that were holding the codes. Each one of the 12 Essene tribes held one of the CDT plate wisdoms and knowledges, or, you know, like the teachings that went with that. And they were also assigned to one of the stargates on the earth and the stargate locations on the earth. So the reason why they did that was because seeding the angelic human tribes here on the earth was actually part of an ancient ascension plan. So we know, you know, like we were first seeded on Gaia. We know that, you know, like Gaia, sorry, on Tara, sorry, I'm keep making that mistake. I mean, Tara, sorry. We know that Tara exploded, or imploded, actually, what it was. And we know that we ended up here on the Earth, stuck in harmonic universe one, and we need to work ourselves out of here again, right?
Okay. Okay.
So,
Let me just here stop you for just we continue on this story, but okay, because there's like maybe somebody's watching that doesn't really know and angelic words,
mm,
Gaia, Tara,
mm.
CDT plates. Okay, so what are CDT plates? First, first
So
step. So these are the
CDT.
knowledges that were left for us to remember or to learn. What is it?
Yeah, so the CDT plates are actually called the Cloister Dora Torah plates. So they're
Okay.
actually 12 plates that held information which was encoded in selenite quartz from Sirius B.
Okay.
And those 12 CDT plates actually contained the wisdom and the knowledge of all the possible timelines, going back from all the way in the past to all the way up in the future, like all possible timelines that are out there, um, for our 15-dimensional time matrix.
Oh,
And what our 15-dimensional time matrix is, that's basically, you know, the structure that we're living in,
okay.
which contains 5 harmonic universes,
Okay.
and then 15 dimensions in total.
Okay.
So, and that information and those records that were stored on there, on those 12 CDT plates, actually contained like all of the knowledge that had to do with our Stargate portal access, how we could activate things. They contained like bodies of knowledge about our ancient Anahazi language. Um, like so much more, so that they were actually the complete teachings.
I understand. I'm trying to explain to people that maybe don't know, like a little bit. So let me ask another question. These are teachings or books from two people by my knowledge. One is Ashiana Dean and the second one is Lisa Rene,
Hmm.
right? Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, that's that's correct. Yeah, that there's actually in this.
More probably. But I don't know of them. But I
Yeah,
guess
I
these
think
are,
there's
to my knowledge, this is what, at least for me, knowing this shortly, let's say about a year and a half into this, these are two people that I've been reading and they've been really, how to say, share the knowledge of this. So if you have any
yeah,
other source, please, so people can check, you know.
absolutely, absolutely. No, and those are great resources to check. That's also, what triggered, I
Yeah.
know, your remembrance and also my remembrance of it.
Mm,
And it's good to know that this was actually like knowledge and wisdom that wasn't available
yeah.
to humanity for a very long time. So I believe it was around 1999 or so that actually Ashiana Dean, Ayesha as she's called right
Yeah.
now, when she started to write her Voyagers books. So that's actually when the biggest, like bodies of knowledge re-emerged again on the earth, and that's also how we started to learn about them again progressively. So
Yeah,
yes,
that's yeah, it has to do with the ascension cycle now that we are ready to get this knowledge again, right? It's something like
absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's true because we are actually like we are in something which is called a stellar activation cycle, which is a cycle
Hmm.
that actually happens like every 26,500
Something years, yeah.
years or something. Yeah. And what it actually means is an alignment to the galactic core in which the stargates can progressively open again on the Earth.
Hmm.
So what we know is that actually, like our system and our time matrix is a false system which fell from the Andromeda Mother Galaxy. So in order for us being trapped, I don't like to use that word, but it is what it is actually. Like
Hmm.
in order for us, to move away from being trapped here down in the first harmonic universe in dimensions 1, 2, and 3, and in order to travel back home again, we need that alignment. So we need to be able to travel back home again to Andromeda eventually,
Yeah. Okay.
where we're
If
being
I
taken.
just jump here, so five harmonic universes, right?
Mm,
Okay. First one is dimension one, two, three. Then is four, five, six,
yeah,
and up to 15, right?
yeah.
Okay. How do we get there?
We are already there.
And I understand, but like, so if we are trapped in one, two, three,
Yeah.
what, like, in sense of, this, our DNA needs to activate, purify body, what are the steps or what is the path? Like, okay, please tell us and let's go do it. And everybody goes to the 15th dimension, right? So, but no, because they are like light codes, we receive light codes, we receive different codes from sun, from uh, different flashes. I forgot the name now, and
Solar
so on.
flare.
So that activates our body, right?
Hmm.
So, what in general is that a person needs to do? Because the one that is aware of it, let's call it like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. I think the most important thing to understand is that we are multi-dimensional beings. So, like
Hmm.
obviously we know that, like we know we have lived. quote unquote parallel lives and future lives, which are actually, yeah, just like parallels that we're living in the here and now, right? I believe from the Kelantic perspective, in order for us to be incarnated right now here, and for us to be able to talk to each other, at least 1727, so in total 1728 aspects of self need to be incarnated for us to have this experience even.
Well,
So
is that means that we had 1,700, how many did you say?
28.
1,728 lives before past lives, so-called, or?
Yeah, which are actually parallel, right?
Yeah, so, well, the thing is, yeah, the way that I see it now, everything is happening at the same time. This
Yeah.
is my knowledge so far, right? So it's like the way before we were thinking about past, future, present, right?
Hmm.
But basically with, I don't know where I read that, but basically with your thoughts. So, example, we are now here, and you have a previous couple years ago a bad memory, whatever, right? Well, that doesn't exist anymore. But once you remember and you feel it, you basically create it again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, so it's just now and everything. This is how, because for me it's like I need to see it in the picture, so to that makes
Yeah.
sense to me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and I think that's the most important thing for us to realize, that everything is happening now and it's already here.
yeah,
So our multidimensional self that may be incarnated from the highest God creation fields is already here. And also, the version of ourselves that is now incarnated in this like 3 to 4 to 5 dimensional field is also here. So it's just like the same thing, different experiences.
yeah.
Like our consciousness being directed to a certain part of what we choose choose to experience right now. Yeah. So
Mhm.
yeah. So, but to get back to your question, like what it is that we need to do, um, you know, I would say, to the best of my understanding, like, those stargates are actually key coded to our DNA.
Mhm.
So I don't know, like, if in this lifetime, if we are going to raise the collective consciousness enough for us to be able to have like physical Stargate passage, right? If we, I don't know if we're going to be able to take our physical body through stargates that will lead us then into the dimensional fields that our DNA is key coded to, because it works with DNA. It's like our DNA, the parts of our DNA that we unlock give us access to certain dimensional fields. So
Yeah.
the higher parts of our DNA that we unlock, the more we can travel and, like all of that. And obviously, we already do that in our sleeps. And I don't know if this is something that will be happening physically. I have no
Oh,
idea. I think the most
okay, can I
important.
ask you a question? Do we need to be, is this a personal activation or we do our consciousness as a collective on Earth needs to be much higher?
Well,
You know, because if it's to DNA, then example, I can unlock DNA if I decide to go to that path and like, okay, I'm gonna do,
mm,
I'm just making now stuff up, right? But I'm gonna do meditation for 10 hours or
mm,
whatever method I will use, right? And then I will unlock and then I will go, right?
yeah.
Or is that a collective thing where we need to change the planet first, change our mentality because the wars and all of this killing and, the way we live now, if that's the case, then we are screwed, right? Then we're not going to achieve another 1,000 years if we're going to continue like this, right? So,
Well,
do you
it
think?
it goes hand in hand, right? Like the everything that we see playing out on the timelines of the Earth. all the warring going on, all of that, it all is very much interconnected to, what is happening to the grids of the earth,
I know.
the collective consciousness of humanity. So yes, obviously a part of it is collective consciousness,
Hmm.
in order for us not to, like do more damage again and all of that. But then, like obviously, like it's our own individual process as well. Like you are responsible for your DNA rehabilitation, and I'm responsible for mine, right? So
Hmm.
that's also something that I love to do when I work with people. One of my first questions is if people are willing, to do the work. For instance, like I work with this program called Heart Math, and like I always tell people, like you need to tell me that you're going to practice, because otherwise, like I can't do it for you, right? And I think that's kind of the quick fix that everybody is looking for these days. You go to someone and you want to get healed, or you're going to a healer to receive healing, but it's actually putting the responsibility back to ourselves again, right?
Yeah, and the right healer, it's like he's will activate in him the healing itself. So the
Yeah,
right one, but it's like with everything else, right? You're trying to find the, it's like I'm sick, let me take a pill and I'm gonna be better, right? But you don't heal the causes, right? Why
yeah,
is like that, right? So
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah,
So wait, so because you have also the website, I will we'll talk about your website, but this is like I really like this
yeah,
conversation right now. So please continue. Please continue.
yeah. You want to go back to the seven Essene mirrors, or?
We can jump back, yeah, because we went like from there to now to through the everything. So you whatever you feel like talking, just talk and I'll ask questions. So just go.
Yeah, of course. No, so I was just trying to, get the point across of who the Essenes were, how we know them right now. That
Hmm.
we know them as the Jewish sects that lived, in the lands of Israel, and them to be connected to Yeshua, which they absolutely were. But it's also very important to raise our awareness that actually the original Essene tribes were actually part of a way bigger plan and a way bigger concept, than that. So, Yeshua actually, and the whole Christ lineage, they were, as I said, they were Essenes as well. And one of the things that they actually came to do, I don't know why they want me to mention this, but they want me to mention this, because I was going to tell you about the mirrors and how they apply, but they want me to mention this. So part of their mission was actually something that is very, very relevant again right now. Because part of the work that Yeshua came to do was, like part of the mission was to reactivate the 12 dimensional frequency again in the grids of the earth, because earth was for a very long time, wasn't connected to the 12 dimensional frequency
Hmm.
anymore. And part of the work that they came to do, and that also then the ancient Essenes back at those times, back in those days did, was trying to regain access of the 11th dimensional Stargate, which is located in Stonehenge in the UK.
Okay.
And just a little bit of background, like we have 12 main planetary stargates on the Earth, and then there's many different gates, many different networks, many different grids. There's really a lot, but the 12 main planetary stargates is the most important thing to know right now, and there's 12 activation sites to those planetary stargates. So the 11th dimensional stargate was a stargate that had fallen under the control of the Niberian Anunnaki. And part of the mission of Yeshua and the Essenes back then was to regain control over that Stargate. And their mission was around that time partially successful. So, yes, they reconnected the grids, so to say, to the 12 dimensional frequency again. but they failed into gaining access and control again over the 11th dimensional Stargate. So that's actually very much something that has been very current right now, like in the
Hmm.
past couple of years, and actually something which also progressively needs to be restored in the grids of the Earth again. So like all the damage that was done by the control that was held over that Stargate, it was actually put back into Guardian protection again. But yeah, so they just wanted they just wanted to mention that it was actually a big part of their mission of what they came to do. So the seven Essene mirrors them was a model that the Essenes would have used. And it's a model that they used for purifying their own inner behaviors. So the seven Essene mirrors are basically seven mirrors which show you how your inner reality, so everything that you think, everything that you feel, like all your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, your inner perceptions, your beliefs, and everything that you think that is true about, like yourself deep down inside, according to the Essenes, that is mirrored through seven different principles. And those principles are the seven Essene mirrors. And those reflections that we see are mirrored by the people and the relationships outside of ourselves. So, to give an example, like if I am talking to you, and, I see something which I find beautiful, so I think you have a very lively personality. There's a good chance that, according to the seven Essene mirrors, that's a belief that I also hold about myself. Just to,
Yep.
to start with a good example,
Or,
right?
or if you think something he's selfish or whatever, it goes both way. No, no, I understand. I understand. It's a,
Exactly.
yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Keep going. I have a question, but keep going. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Um, so those mirrors, they actually work in very subtle ways. So it
Hmm.
starts, with the first Essene mirror, which is like the mirror of reflections in the moment. So it
Hmm.
basically, if I see something in you that triggers something inside of me, it can reflect something about how I feel in the moment, or what I think in the moment, or what I experience in the moment. So that's like the least subtle one of those mirrors. But as they progress, they get more and more complicated to comprehend and to internalize and to work with. So it's like a very out there thing that's being mirrored to you when you look at things through the first mirror. But when you look at something through the fifth Essene mirror, for instance, or okay, the fifth Essene mirror, which is the mirror about the reflections of our mother and our father, then it goes into deeper spiritual concepts. So yeah. Okay, sorry. What did you
Okay.
want to
No, no,
ask?
no, no. So, okay, so explain the seven because, like, okay, so if I understand, let's say you mentioned the fifth, right? Mother and father. So
As an
basically,
example.
example, you're dealing then with your influences of your parents and the baggage you got from there. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Because then you need to unlock, I mean, unlock, you need to understand what is yours and what is theirs.
absolutely. So you want to talk about that mirror for a little bit, or?
We can, because what I want to understand is like just in general the seven, just like
Yeah.
if it's like what it means, because this is the understand, but just in general question that I have is about the mirrors. It's like, okay, if we always like, if a person is selfish, right? In general, if that person is actually, and I say it's a selfish, doesn't mean I'm selfish,
Hmm.
right? So if he's an idiot, let me make it very simple, right? if that person is an idiot, right? And I don't mean like, mentally challenged, but like an
Yeah,
asshole, right?
yeah,
And I say he's an asshole, doesn't make me an asshole.
yeah.
He's just not being polite or just not behaving properly. Let's say call it like that. Let's make it very simple, right? So
Yeah.
my issue with all of this is I
Mm,
understand where you're going with this, like, and I agree, but like not everything is a mirror to yourself, right? Because I didn't know this concept of the mirror, but I've been introduced to the mirror concept in a little different way.
mm.
And my thing is like, oh yeah, if you say I'm like this, that then it's you. That was what I get back from other people. I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm not like you. I'm just saying, yeah, but if you see in me, then it's in you. And I'm like, well, not really.
Well,
You
that's actually also a very new agey way of thinking, right? That's actually what they went and spread around in New Age. Like, okay, whatever you see in me is a reflection of you,
yeah, that's I have a problem.
right?
That's what been told
Exactly.
to me. I'm
But
like, no,
but
man, like, no, 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 no. It doesn't work like that. Like, how
yeah,
that
so
works, right? So that's
that's
my
where
question.
actually the
Okay,
mirrors
that's the new age
actually,
stuff or what? Uh-huh, okay.
yeah, so that's actually where the mirrors, like work in more subtle ways. That's why there's not one,
Okay.
but there's actually seven mirrors that mirror our behavior.
Okay.
Having that said, I can give you an example of my own
Please.
life, actually working with like a similar situation. So,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so this is a situation where actually my ex-sister-in-law and my mom really did me a favor. So they were the people in my life that held this mirror to me in order for me to purify this and start to understand this within myself.
Okay.
So I believe this was something that happened last year. So I was living in Cyprus. I was still together with my ex-boyfriend, and the husband of my sister-in-law died. She had three kids, a baby of 7 months. We went to Israel where she lived. Like we helped her. We, like tried to give her some mental support, emotional support. And like after like the dust settled down from her husband passing away, we invited her over to come to Cyprus.
Okay.
So we invited her over. We booked a hotel. We like we booked the tickets. We had her come. I arranged a babysitter. Like all of these things, to kind of make her feel good, right? Because yeah, you want to do
And
that
be
because she
helpful and just
and a
make
helpful,
her
yeah,
make her life a little bit easier.
right? Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So what happened during that situation is that my sister-in-law came. She did everything, she experienced everything, enjoyed at the hotel, took massages, all of that, ate, drank, blah, blah, blah. Um, Left the country again without saying thank you. And that taught me obviously like many lessons and many things. One of them is like that you should give without expecting a thank you in return, right? But one of the things that she also that she was actually triggering in me was that I thought that she was being selfish. I thought, yeah, who does that? Right? Come to a different country, take all of that in, and then leave without saying thank you. That's like in my world, that's like not normal human behavior, right? So she was the first person who mirrored that to me, and this all happened like within the frame of a week. Next thing I know, I go to England with my mom, and we're going on a trip. And my mom, she used to smoke cigarettes still at that time. And my mom was sitting in the car and we were driving around in England, and she said like, oh Amber, I could really take a cigarette right now. And she just like takes out her packet of cigarettes, lights a cigarette in the car, and starts smoking inside of the car. First off, we had a rental car, right? Which, yeah, that you're not allowed to smoke in a rental car. Second of all, I thought, who does that? That's so selfish. She doesn't think about my health. She doesn't think about, that I'm the one who put the rental car under my name, like all of that. So that was the second person again in that week mirroring to me selfish behavior. Um, just because you gave the example about being selfish, right?
Yeah.
what I didn't understand, that it was actually being what was actually being mirrored at me, that I had completely put myself at the backseat of my own life, you know, and that actually by, facilitating my sister-in-law, trying to make her feel good and trying to do all of that for her, and putting myself, at the backseat, that I was actually being selfless by doing that. So her triggering for me this, or like her mirroring to me this selfish behavior, had me to realize that I was actually being selfless. And by being
Mhm.
selfless, I was actually also being selfish to people. Um, because obviously nobody is going to feel good if another person goes out of their way to make the other feel good, right? So I don't know through what Essene mirror that was being mirrored at me. So I would say through the Essene mirror of the moment. That's actually the first mirror. So yes, in this case, her being selfish actually mirrored what I also was in that moment. I was being selfless, through which I actually also was selfish.
Okay, I'm trying to understand that one right now.
Yeah, I know. That's very. It's like those mirrors are very deep and very profound and very complicated to comprehend.
Yeah,
But actually, everything that we see in our outer reality, up until the nanosecond, that is being mirrored at us, says something about us. Why is that the case? Because we live in a holographic reality. So
hmm,
everything, all the information, about my inner thoughts, beliefs, emotions, perceptions, is also inside of you. Like we know that we live in a field of quantum entanglement. We know that we are all interrelated. We know that we are all one big field of collective consciousness, right?
yep.
And it even goes as far as that, like our pets mirror to us, our the situations that are happening in our houses are mirroring to us. What happens to our cars mirrors something to us. It goes like,
It's everything is connected basically.
yeah, yeah,
Everything. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, basically on this thing, I think it's like um for me personally, it's like that for the last two years were really a lot of shadow work, a lot of past traumas, a lot of work on that, all
Mm,
of that. And now it's much easier to like, it's like, I, for me, I would like to say like, I think that with this kind of, because there are so many approaches, right? There's so many ways to get there. That's why I like doing this podcast because I want to show as much different paths to the same thing, basically, right? So basically, people are less burdened about their past, or they go to whatever their path, life path is. They go there, right? And the point is like right now, it's so much easier to deal with whatever it is
mm,
because that bigger chunk of the work was done. So it's
yeah.
kind of now everything is much easier to deal with, and new knowledge is it's able to come. New people are able to come in my life
Mm,
because I'm different person, right? So
absolutely. So that's
yeah,
it.
I'm vibrating higher. So you and other people that we know couldn't come in my life a year and a half ago because I was like, "Mm-mm, no, no."
Yeah,
I
exactly.
was
Because we're,
blocking that. My, let's call it a mirror or my um, holographic life, my reality. It showed where I was because there, where I was energetically, where and so on, right?
exactly. So because you attract what you are, right? So yeah,
Hmm.
that's actually where the mirrors give like a very specific framework
Hmm.
for analyzing what it is that you see in your reality. and what you can do about that to change that.
Mm.
So yeah, yeah, true.
Awesome. Okay, let's go to this was great. So what is let's go to law one, okay? And core principles. What is like for me, because there's a lot of information about the law one, so from Ra to what is this book I'm reading from P. John Pinnell,
Hmm.
Children of the Law One. You know it? Okay, so what is Law One for you, or how do you understand it?
Well, basically, to me, the law of one is just the comprehension that all things are made of energy that is part of the all one, that is part of the creator, all of that. But I also believe the law of one, is very specific scientific knowledge about the mechanics behind that field of consciousness, if you will. So
Mm-hmm.
I very much believe, there is a lot of technical information
Mm-hmm.
about, like how we have to live according to the virtues, how we have to use ascension mechanics in order to reactivate our higher DNA again.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's the concept of understanding, there's a unity intelligence. And then also, the tools for how we have to um, reactivate, that remembrance inside of ourselves again, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what is so maybe some people ask like what do we have to remember?
Hmm.
What do we have to remember? So like some people like um, do we have to remember why we came here? What is our mission or who we were or who we are?
All, I would say.
Or or
All.
okay.
Oh yeah, I think always, like the life that we are living now is the most
Mhm.
important life, right? So
Yeah,
this
for
is the
sure.
only thing that we're focused upon right now in the here and now. So yes, it's important to sometimes draw in, like memories from the past or memories of the future, but we have to live in the here and now. So this is the life that we're focused upon. So that's actually what we want to be remembering stuff about, I would say.
Yeah, okay. I agree. I agree. But like the thing is like, okay, so once you know what you're doing here is just to be present all the time, right? Because like uh, for me, after all this work, I'm not I'm done with the past, right? So I'm like, I'm not wandering back anymore. The future is like, meh, I have plans,
Hmm.
but for me at 45, I'm like finally like here and now most of the time, like the majority of the time, right? So it's nice. It's nice to be here. But like my question is like, because do we this with these tools that you mentioned now, right?
Hmm.
Do we remember like because everybody's like, oh, we need to remember. Remember what actually? Like, like that's my question. Like, um,
I would say our multidimensionality. That's what we want
okay.
to remember, right? We want to
Yeah.
have more and more of our memories coming back online and knowing, like why we came here in the first place, what is the goal of our life, like all of these cliches that everybody wants to know and everybody wants to learn about, but that's once we start to step into our mission, that's what we actually remember, what it is that we chose for ourselves before incarnating in this
Mm.
particular life right now, right? So, and that comes online through activating our multidimensional remembrance.
Yeah, that was awesome answer. Yeah. That's exactly. Yeah. I agree with that. It's yeah. It's also I see it from my own experience now.
Mm.
And yeah, the things that are happening to me is just like fascinating right now. Fascinating. The things that I start remembering or activating, and
Mm.
but also not everybody's here for that.
No,
It's
that's
that,
true. Oh, that's true.
so, and that's fine too, and that's the way it is because just yeah. Um, CDT plates we talked about. Can you tell us some resources of maybe the things that we talked about where people
Yeah,
can find?
yeah.
What would you recommend?
Absolutely. Yeah. So one thing that I always love to do myself is like
Hmm.
basically, I I just go to Ascension Glossary for everything. So Ascension
Hmm.
Glossary basically is the work of Lisa Renee. She has like two websites, and she is together with Ashiana Dean, Ayesha. She is one of the two women who has brought forward the biggest body of knowledge
Hmm.
translated from those CDT plates. So Lisa Renee has like two websites. One is called Energetic Synthesis, in which she or on which she explains a lot about like ascension, what ascension is. She has like specific clearings, like all of these types of stuff. And then there's one main dictionary, like a sort of Wikipedia that she
Hmm.
has online, which is called Ascension Glossary. So basically, I always tell people, if there's any spiritual concept that you want to research, for instance, I had a person, I did a chair session with him. So I work with these energetical chairs, and what we pulled, I have like these cards and these programs that I work with, and he pulled a card for activating our 12 dimensional shield.
Hmm.
So we activated this 12 dimensional shield, which starts with, like visualizing a six-pointed Merkaba star made of white silver light and one of dark silver light, and you merge them together and like put them on top of each other. So after that session, so we did that, he had a lot of resistance that came up. So he said like, oh yeah, Amber, we had to visualize that that Star of David, and like I connected to Judaism, and I didn't like the exercise. I said, well, good. He said, why? What's good about that? I said, very good. I said, because that resistance inside of you, that is the thing, that if that comes up, if you recognize that feeling inside of you, that's where you are going to research. Because 9 out of 10 times when you feel resistance inside of yourself, there's something there to either research, purify, learn, investigate. Like that's your that's your main objective. That just became your main objective,
Where
actually.
it hurts.
Where it hurts, yeah, exactly, right. So and like what I like to tell people is, like it's so easy. Like normally, if you would go onto Google and search something, you just go to www.ascensionglossary.com, I believe it is.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I
.com.
think so. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
right.
so.
And you just type in whatever it is that you want to know, and
It's
that's where
great.
the wisdom of the CDT plates will be pulled up. I think it's important to mention that obviously, like with everything in life, it's very important for us to use our own discernment, right? It's not like, okay, that's what's written up there, that's the absolute and ultimate truth. I think it's
No, but it's a
one
great
of
resource.
yeah, of resources that comes closest to the truth, but we have to realize, that translating that information and bringing that through here in physical manifest reality, like in the third dimension, that's very difficult. So but so always use your own discernment, but I would
Mm.
always go to Ascension Glossary to research stuff over there.
So the ones that want to check Lisa Renee or Shayana Dean or other, they can go to the website bluemagicsensen.com under people and their knowledge, and there are all the links and everything to Lisa Renee and her Ascension glossary. It's great. When you really want to know something, you go there, and it's a great. Um, Can you just explain one more thing? What is 12-dimensional shield?
Yeah. Yeah. So, look, the angelic human race, right?
Yep.
That's us, was actually created through a specific blueprint.
Okay.
And that specific blueprint is called a Katara grid, or also a tree of life, which is actually a geometric shape that, like I think everybody knows the Kabbalah tree of life, which has like 10 nodes and interconnects with all these lines there, and that's also called the tree of life. Um, then the
Here is
original,
12.
yeah, in
Here
the
is 12.
original Katara grid, our original divine blueprint holds 12 nodes.
Mm-hmm.
So, the 12 dimensional shield, when you actually activate that, it's actually reconnecting all your energy circuits again into that original blueprint. So, connect or activating the 12 dimensional shield is actually like it's just a practice of spiritual hygiene. It's a visualization exercise that you do.
Mm-hmm.
And what it actually does is it pops around your body like an energetical shield, which is called like the tube of light, that protects us from any interfering spirit. So it activates a 12 dimensional frequency in your auric field, so to say.
Mm-hmm.
And it connects you um, to the 12 dimensions of consciousness again. So, actually doing that practice like every single day, every single morning, sometimes maybe even if you're feeling like maybe that your thought fields are being influenced or whatever during the day, it's a very easy exercise to do once you got the hold of it. You can pop that, like tube of light up again, and you're protected. So, it's basically our connection to our divine blueprint again.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Yeah.
I have to, while you were talking about this, I was like, yeah, I should do this more often. I have a little bit different approach, but
Mm,
I do that. I need to do that a little bit more often. But just to protect myself from energy, for
mm,
me was like it's a golden cage. I put a golden egg around me.
yeah.
And yeah, this is just to protect myself. This is
Yeah.
not to, like you said, like reconnect to 12, uh, um, to, how did you say, to
Yeah,
12?
to the 12 dimensional spheres again of
Yeah,
our
yeah,
original
yeah,
blue,
yeah.
yeah, original
Mhm.
energy circuits that go with that.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that's good. Like I think that's a very good way of doing that.
Mhm.
Um, I myself, love that these specific ascension techniques are being given back to us, because the more we expand our consciousness, the more technical our understanding of things will also be. So yeah, the more we are also asked to, like yeah,
I
like
like the
use
way you
these
explain because I'm like I'm a person that does by the feeling, right?
yeah, which is everything.
I have to feel stuff, right?
Everything.
I
Which is
have to
everything.
feel stuff. I if I don't feel it, it's like I don't care what they say, right? I like no no no. I don't like textbooks. Like I don't like to follow the rules. Like
Yeah,
I'm like nah. But when
which
I
is
feel
fine.
it,
Because it all
and
comes down, connecting to your own heart, right? And
yeah.
using the power of your heart and tapping into the wisdom of your heart. And it's also then on the other hand good to have awareness of, that these things are
Mhm.
out there, right?
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure. Let's go before you mention some grids, right?
Mm,
And grid work.
mm,
And you do a lot of grid work. And you travel to those places and where grids need recharge or high vibration or cleaning or could you explain a little bit how that looks in actually in practice? because
Mm,
for me it's kind of fascinating because I'm not a grid worker, right? Part- I love to participate when people do it like group meditation.
mm,
I love doing that stuff. That's no problem, right? But I'm not. My mission is different here, right? So
mm.
you are a grid worker, and like how that actually looks in a practice.
Well, I think you're also, like all of us, who are on this shared mission, we all do grit work. I think most of us, do it without knowing that they're
Okay,
doing.
then maybe it's that because
Yeah.
I think Valerie, she told you it's like, yeah, Matt is in Greece and like he holds Greece grids, and I'm like, what? Like, what you talking about? Like, I really like when she said it, I'm like, yeah, okay, okay, let it be, like, right? So because for me, I don't know, like, but the point is here, like, you're right. I know you're right, but what I want to hear show is like because you actually are focused on that, right? That work. Yes.
Well, yeah, it's not that I consciously, ever wanted to focus on that. It's just that it's always been the main emphasis of my life, like, and
That's my point. Yeah. But like, I would like you to just like, if you can, tell us and so we can, um, how do you say, imagine, because for
yeah.
me it's fascinating, right? Like, so what do you do? Like, what? Okay. So let's say you have to go to Cyprus or you have to go to whatever, right? What then?
Yeah. So, well, I'll start by sharing that, what it actually is that happens, like as we, okay, so I know we had some private conversations about this, and I know that both of us remember something which is called our indigo heritage.
Hmm.
And maybe explaining for the people who don't know what, like indigos are, like star seeds. You have like different types of star seeds walking around on the earth, and indigos are basically, like they're a hybrid race, um, which are actually key coded in their DNA to hold like higher strands of DNA. So as we come into a human form as indigos, we automatically can pull in energy from higher dimensional fields of consciousness. So what that automatically means is that if we go to like to a certain location on the earth, already the grids of the earth, like they need the coding that we carry in our templates. And it also goes the other way around. So if we go to a grid, we can also need those codings that the grid holds, or
Hmm.
we need to go there to transmute energies or to transform energies that are held in like the crystals of the stargates and the sacred sites, and to like, yeah, to clear those energies out, if you will. So just I think that's a good concept to already, know that already walking, on the earth is actually already raising the vibration of the earth, being a star seed, right?
Yep.
And if I have to talk for myself, I never really knew that I was doing grid work. And I already from a young age, I was traveling everywhere. So to give you an example, I was 18 years old, and I had a boyfriend who lived in the UK, in Middlesbrough, actually. Um, and I was flying out to England like every other weekend. So like, and I did this for a year and a half. And obviously that's not a lot of fun, I can tell you, because it's, like hopping on the plane, hopping off again, packing your bag, doing all of that. So there's also a physical aspect to that, and your body needs to
Hmm.
recover. And if you're like me and you're hypersensitive and all of that, you pick up on those energies, and, you need to clear your fields again. At that time, I wasn't aware of all of this, but it's basically something that I have been doing my whole life. Um, 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 um. I remembered, so there were always two things that they said to me. So one thing was um, that they always pushed me towards embodiment. So they always said to me, no, 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 Amber, don't go out working with people too much. Don't go out doing stuff too much on the internet. Don't go out doing all the things that I want to be doing with my ego mind, right? But they always said, no, go for the embodiment and go and try to purify your own templates. Now, in hindsight, I understand why, because actually they wanted me to raise my vibration,
Mm,
fast enough, because my main job is to work with the grids and to do those types of things. So the higher our coding is, the more we can help the fields of the earth, right? So what was I saying? That I was
about the grits
Oh yeah,
and
that I didn't remember, right? Or that
yeah.
I didn't know that it was that. Um, and at a certain point, I I learned that this was actually my main, not my main mission in life. I wouldn't say that, but that I maybe resonated with it more than other people do. Let me put it like
Mm-hmm.
that. So, um, it was actually a story, and I don't know if our listeners, if they are familiar, I don't think they are, but let me just state the different types of indigos that are out there. So you have different types of indigos, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
have an indigo type 1, which is mainly someone who is assigned to be doing grit work. Then you have an indigo type 2, which is star seeds that are mainly healers, and they work with other people. Also, some of them write books, they build communities, all of that. Then you have indigo type 3s, which are mainly um, like um, um, they hold contracts with a fallen race, if you will, which are called the Nephilim, and they hold agreements to host through those Nephilim through their indigo template here on the earth, and to help to correct them into developing compassion and loving kindness, and for them to reconnect to their emotional capacities again, because that's something that they had lost in their history.
Okay.
And then you have the type 4s, which are actually the rehabilitated indigo type 3s that then actually turn into a type 4 contract, right?
Okay.
And I believe all of us, we choose to incarnate with a specific type of indigo contract. There is also, people who I've heard say that they held all four at some point, so they've been a type 1, a type 2, a type 3, and a type 4. I haven't experienced that myself, but there was a time where I started to learn, what my type actually was, and why it actually was that I was supposed to be doing the grid work. So this was actually I think around maybe a year ago or so. I was sitting in meditation, and I just did my heart-based practices, and I calmed down my autonomic nervous system, and I go into a state which is called heart-brain coherence. And actually what you basically do is you tap into your intuition on demand. So I was doing my practices, and I was sitting in that coherent heart space, and all of a sudden I heard my guide say, "We are going to prepare you for a walk-in." I said, okay, because I had just realized, a part of my galactic, remembrance, or just open up a piece, a part. I don't know how to put that in English, but, I just remembered, part um, of my being, and I remembered being an indigo. But then I started wondering, okay, so if I'm an indigo, what type am I then? Am I type 1? Am I type 2? A type 3 I didn't resonate with, so it was either between being a 1 or being a type 2. So I thought, yeah, okay. So I sit in practice, and I hear my guide say, "We're going to prepare you for a walk-in." And I said, okay. So the one thing that actually sets apart, an indigo type 1 and an indigo type 2 and 3, is
Mm-hmm.
that a type 1 is actually an indigo that is awakening higher parts of itself through a very specific scientific process, which is called a walk-in. Now, we can have walk-ins all the time. We can have a walk-in, when we activate a higher part of our DNA. We can have a walk-in when, like a new part of our understanding comes online. But the type of walk-in that I am talking about is a type of walk-in where actually the soul part or the oversoul part of your stations of identity decides to walk in and take over. So that's actually a way of how the indigo type ones are building up their levels of consciousness. So I heard in
Nice.
my ear, okay, so we're going to get you ready for a walk-in. And I thought, oh, okay. Yeah, okay. I said, yeah, okay.
But
Well,
did you, when they told you, did you understand that what's gonna happen, or you were like, whatever?
Well, I heard the concept, so I knew,
Okay,
how
so you knew what is
I
about.
knew how the
Okay.
walk-in process worked
Okay.
for indigo type ones, but I had no idea what it was actually physically going to be like. In hindsight, I remembered I had a walk-in before, but okay. So I heard that, and they told me we're going to get you ready for a walk-in. So I thought, yeah, first I have to see it to believe it, right? Because okay, you can tell me whatever you want, but I didn't experience anything yet. So okay, so go ahead. So 2 months down the line, I am in the US. Very crazy story how I ended up there. Ended up going to what is that called? Phoenix, Arizona, um, close to the Stargate area there. And I was actually I was on a plane back, so I did like some spiritual work there, just incorporated some deep spiritual understandings about myself.
Hmm.
And I was driving to the airport, so I was going to be flying from Phoenix to New York because I was going for a shopping trip in New York. I thought I'm in the US anyway, so I'm going to add some shopping. And I went on the plane, and as I sat in the plane, I ended up, entering like this golden space, if you will. So I felt a lot of, things going on. I felt, bless you.
Thank you.
Bless you. I felt a lot of energies moving, like all sorts of insights. I'm not going to bother you with the details right
Hmm.
now. Next thing I know is that I feel my consciousness dropping back into my body again, like, okay, here I am. So and this all happens up in the air, right? So my plane is landing. I set my foot on the ground, and that's when I feel like this motion of my consciousness, like dropping into my body. So I go like whoop 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 and boom, and I drop into my body again. So for 2 days after that, I couldn't walk. So I was in the bed, my body was trying to adjust and all of that. But that's the moment where I realized, like, okay, so this is exactly the process that they describe, for a walk-in of an indigo type 1. And it needs to be done that way because it has to do with coding, and otherwise the physical body can't, hold specific amounts of light within the physical
Hmm.
templating. So that's why the process has to be done that way. So that's where I remembered, like, okay, so that means, that actually, yeah, I did have a walk-in, and yeah, actually, that means that I'm an indigo type 1. So that's where I actually started to um understand what it was that I have been doing,
Hmm.
like those past 30, I don't know how much years of my life, where I understood, like, okay, so going to those grids was actually always part of my contract. It was always what I was supposed to be doing, even more than any other thing that I ever did in my life. So for me, my guides would always show me, like, okay, it's more important to go to this grid now than to work with that and that person, and like do some physical healing or help them on some physical healing, for instance.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's
No, super interesting. I'm all ears. I'm all ears because I'm still figuring out which type I am. I'm definitely not type one. But yeah, um, I think between two and three. And
Yeah.
but when
Yeah.
I was reading, and while you were talking, I was thinking like I need to read that again.
Mm,
Because I did last month, and I was like, oh, it resonates with me, number three. And I was like, it really like I was like, that's it. Like it's describing me, right?
mm,
And I'm like, now, so I need to read it again.
mm.
Um,
Yeah.
but okay, once you are there, okay, so in this,
On the grids.
yeah,
Yeah.
do you do any like special meditations, or you have like a, ritual like a witch or something? I'm joking, but like
Yeah.
under
Well,
full moon or something. That's a joke, people. I'm joking. I'm joking. Okay.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I do some witchcraft. No, a good way. No, no, no.
Yeah,
I think it's also important to mention here to people that one thing that our teacher Becca, through which we
yeah.
know each other, always teaches us. That we don't necessarily need to go to those grids. In order to do those activations. That this can all be done remotely. And also that it's something that can be very heavy on your energy because mainly what you do on the grids to answer your question.
Hmm.
um, yes, it's sometimes it's activations, so whenever I go to a place, I just get like, like I get magnetically pulled to the place where I need to be. So, so I know some people, they can feel very much into ley lines and they know where like the intersecting nodes are, and they have a big feeling for that. I'm still developing that myself. But I just get like this gravitational pull towards where it is on the land that I need to stand. And what I like to do is I like to feel into the energy. So I'm going to, like I'm going to feel, okay, so does this energy feel heavy to me? Is this like, is there some sort of extraction that needs to happen? Is there some sort of invocation that I verbally need to say? Is there some words that want to come through? Is there some AI technology that I recognize or something like that? And what I also always like to do is bringing back those practices of the law of one. And one of the things that were actually back in those days, during the times when our original um, templating was still more active, like the beings and the people, they used to hold something which were called round tables. So they would sing and they would dance and they would activate their Merkabahs and do some sound toning in the Anahazi language. So I very much like to do that on the lands because from what I learned is that the lands really resonate with the sound tones. So for me, that's like the main thing to activate um whatever it is that wants to be activated in the land. Sometimes I walk around. This morning I was walking in the forest and then it's really weird, like my hands just start doing things, like extracting certain energies or so. Like I don't know how that works on a conscious level. Like your body just starts doing it. I think that works differently for everyone. Some people do light language, some people do whatever, right? It's depending on whatever gifts you have activated in this life. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing that. That's because when I do the healing, it's like it's really different. Depends on the person. It's like when I do, and it's like hands goes where they want to go and the way they want to. But it's not like it's a little bit different. But yeah, but it's a light codes and light language. Let's call it like that.
Yeah.
You are preparing the new website.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
And actually, also
Um,
for people, if they want to know that, we will also be hosting actually a physical grid work retreat next month.
okay.
It's at the end of next month, the 26th to the 27th or so of April. And we'll be doing the grids of the UK. So
Hmm.
traveling with Valerie, who you also had on your podcast. We will be traveling to the lands of Avalon. And we will be doing the grids of Glastonbury. We will do Avebury Henge. We will do Silbury Hill. So yeah, we will very much be working with those lands. So if anyone wants to join us, they're more than welcome.
Yeah, I'll put the link to in this description, and But on your website, what kind of work you are actually already doing, but the new website, what kind of work you're doing with people? Like, how do you help them if they come to you?
Hmm. Yeah, that depends. To be really honest, I actually want to start focusing more on online. And for me, like the biggest barrier that I had to break through was the language.
Hmm.
So, I'm very happy to be doing this with you in English because it's been such a thing for me. Like I'm so insecure about speaking in English. So, but I had to push myself. So actually, I want to focus mainly on doing stuff online.
Hmm. Well, you did to me a QHHT, so like
That's true. Yeah.
that was for me a great experience because I did three in the past,
Mm,
7 years ago,
mm.
but they were not remote, like they were like uh, so I was really like trying to experience the same feeling,
Yeah.
but then quite quickly in the process I realized the feeling, right? Like
Mm,
uh and I was like, I really thought like I'm in control, but then I'm like, how was like what 1 hour and a half? And I'm like, ah, yeah, right, nice. Like, right, I was like, oh, that's kind of 20 minutes, and I was like, that was an hour and a half. That was like, but then I realized like I'm not the same person I was 7 years ago,
yeah. Yeah.
and a message is completely different
Yeah.
than now. So once I felt that, like, ah, okay, just this is how you get in from, like, I have to feel it. Like I said before, I have to feel it. And once I felt that, I was like, oh, the session was perfect after that. And I was like, ah, okay, no more doubting yourself or ego or whatever. It's cool.
Yeah, so that's actually a great way of pulling information, right?
Oh,
From
awesome.
layers of our subconscious. That's actually one way of getting, those memories come to have them come back online again,
Mm.
right?
I mean, I really like QHHT. For me, QHHT is one of the best methods for me personally.
Mm,
Once, but you need to have questions, like really questions, like you really want like this that you want to solve it, and you go and like you get your answers.
yeah,
And for me, it's like, it's a shortcut
yeah,
to meditation instead of like asking, but like this is for me is I love that stuff.
yeah.
And the best thing is when you listen is the same energy that you go through, right? So because
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's awesome. So people, if you didn't do QHHT, I recommend it highly. It's
Mm,
awesome.
that's kind. Yeah, it's a good way. It's absolutely a good way, and that's also part of, remembering again, right?
Hmm. Because like in previous here was no needs for that, but no need for that. But in previous coach, I healed myself of uh, I think there are bladder stones.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, during the session.
Oh,
In
that's
the end where you
yeah,
ask higher self for
yeah, for the healing of the
question.
body. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we did a scan and like, oh, it has like, and the practitioner at that time was like, can you heal him? Heal
Mhm.
myself, right? And yeah, it took a minute or two, and
Wow.
then next day they were gone.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's
so I just want to tell people there's
without
like,
expectations, right?
huh?
You go in it without expectations, and
Oh no, there was
oftentimes,
no expectation. I didn't even know I have a, bladder stone. They're like, because in every session, it was like you scan your body,
yeah,
and for healing, if you are healthy or something needs to be careful about, right?
yeah.
And that was like one, I did three sessions with her, and I don't know, the second one or third one, doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's very good. And most of the time, the subconscious chooses that when you
Mhm.
understood like the mental and emotional conditioning that goes with something. So,
Mhm.
yeah, and then no longer need it, and then it can be released from the system. So, yeah, that's it's a good remembrance for all of us to know that that's how powerful our own mind is, right?
Oh, amazing, amazing. I mean, people didn't like um, believe me for a very long time.
Mm,
People outside of that understand QHHT and power of mind.
yeah.
Like I was like, oh yeah, yeah. They say like, sorry, excuse me. And and in one session, I lost, I think, 15 kilos.
Wow.
Yeah, but it was not the intention. It was like one of my past lives was I changed actually to an alien,
Mm,
and my physical body during the session changed.
wow. But how did
Yeah.
you notice? Like
Huh?
afterwards? How did you notice afterwards? Or
Well, yeah, because the session was like 2 hours and a half or three. So it
yeah,
was in my friend's house, and he was downstairs with his wife. And so I come down, I didn't even notice, but during the session, I felt like my body change, right?
yeah,
So because she was asking me questions like, so it took me, my session took me to a space and, excuse me. And, and so like in one part in hour, right? But so she's like, "Oh," I'm like, "Yeah," and she's asking me, "Are you a human? Are you still human?" I'm like, "And look, no," and I look and I tell her I'm about 3 or 4 meter tall green alien, right? And I just start explaining her that I feel amazing power, like I'm super strong. And actually my construction on my body changed. Like so I got like these muscles in these 2 hours, six pack I lost. And
that's
how I
easy.
know? No, I'm not joking. It lasts only 2 days, unfortunately, not forever. But like
Maybe like your body remembering again, right?
yeah, but like I came down. I didn't realize, I felt it there, but I didn't realize that I lost 10, 15 kilos. I didn't realize until I came down and this friend is like, "What happened to you?
Wow.
You lost like 10 kilos." And I'm like, "What you talking about?" He's just like, "Look yourself in the mirror." And then I look at myself mirror and my shirt was the double size. Like
Oh, that's heavy.
yeah, so I just want to tell these people so that even if you don't know or believe what we're saying here, like where I just go and check it, there's a
Yeah,
lot
but
of
those are the things
QHA.
that there's no doubt about it then anymore, huh?
No,
That's
no, I mean, this has been proven. I mean, Dolores Cannon, this technique, right? I
yeah,
mean, people needs to understand that doctors, scientists, all of these different section of knowledge or industry, whatever the right expression is, they came to a psychiatrist. They came to her asking like, how is
yeah.
this possible? So they understand and put in their work. I mean, this is years and decades of work, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that was also like in the days where she started, hypnotherapy in general, wasn't as widely accepted as it is right now, right? Like we know that
Yeah.
there's way more to our mind than only the conscious part. So,
Yeah, but for me, it's like because I did it like so many times, or like I've been reading about this for more than 15 years. For me,
mm,
it's just like normal part of the life where you use
yeah,
it
yeah,
to improve yourself or to get answers. Like I'm like, because I don't understand, right? Like people are like, "Oh no, I don't want to try it." Like, why not?
yeah, there's nothing to lose.
Yeah, it's like I mean, do you have like everybody has questions that wants to know the answer to,
Yeah,
like,
of course.
or it's
Yeah.
about yourself or about something else, whatever. You go here, you find the right person for you. 3 hours later, you have the answers, like, or 2 hours, like.
It's a
So
no-brainer.
okay, let's go back to your website. So what else you're gonna what kind of else or healing methods or
What I what I
practices
mainly
or
what I
yeah.
mainly do, Matt, and what I have been doing is I work with people with heart math. So I help people. Um, I teach people, let me put it like that, how to utilize the wisdom of their own hearts. So the scientific research of the HeartMath Institute, um, they researched for 30 years how we can use the heart in healing. And then I'm talking about, like physical healing, but also mental and emotional healing, and also, how you can use it for connecting to your intuitive
Mhm.
abilities. So that's actually basically what I teach people, and I do that in a program which is called Building Resilience. So people come and I take them through a process. They get like biofeedback measurement equipment. So they have like a little application on their phone, and they measure on their ear, what it is that their heart rate variability does and how that expresses itself. And then according to that, we can help them optimize that to build more resilience in their life.
Mhm.
And apart from that, I've mainly been doing work with the energetical chairs that I have here. So that's actually healing chairs that come from the third harmonic universe in the seventh dimension.
Mm.
And they work through something which is called astronomical healing. So basically, we use them for doing like seal removal, Jehovian seal removal, Draco seal removal, like removing implants, all of that stuff. And we use them for aligning the chakra system. We use them for correcting, the elementals within our body. So they can be used in a very wide range of healing
Mhm.
abilities. The only thing is that they need to be used physically. So yeah, I do take them when I travel abroad. I have them and I bring them because I have like traveling chairs as well. But yeah, that's and they're so
Nice.
easy, Matt. They're so fun. I wish you could experience them once. They're so fun. It's just like you sit down in a chair. It's a session of 20 minutes, and it's just like it's yeah, it's something else.
Oh, we will at some point. We'll meet
Yeah,
in person at some point.
absolutely.
Um, Amber, do you have anything for the end you want to add?
No, not really, Matt.
We, I really love this conversation because explaining stuff that also even I read all of this and I needed to hear all of it honestly. So
Hmm.
amazing for me, it was super interesting. So thank
That's
you.
good. No, I'm happy that we could have that conversation, right?
Just tell me, remind me. I will send. I need to show you because you heart met, right? So I
Mm.
had guests from Slovenia there. They made this meditation device where
Yeah.
you listen to your heart,
Yeah.
your own beating of your heart.
Oh,
And
that's
you go into
cool.
the meditation. I tried it for 3 4 minutes. It's at the beginning, it's strange.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Listening
very
to,
personal, eh? That's your heart.
yeah, and it's like, and then, I was on purpose, I was doing like fast breathing, so, and then slow it down. And yeah, but I didn't do it like an hour or like 30 minutes. I would love to do that. But I would like you to check it because maybe this is something you would
Yeah,
like. So
absolutely. I'd love to see that.
yeah, because I'm not sure, but I think they were mentioning HeartMath too, this one.
Maybe.
But
Yeah.
I'm not sure. So
Yeah, and it's basically it's nothing new, it's just like
yeah.
that now we can measure these things, right? So
Mhm.
we have this biofeedback materials, and but it's actually just ancient techniques, like the ancients knew, that we could harmonize the heart and the brain, and we can turn them into one network, and we can use that for healing abilities and tapping into our intuition. So yeah,
Yeah,
thank you. I love
that's
that.
the big thing. Connect your heart with
Yeah,
everything, pretty much with everything. So yeah.
yeah, it is.
Amber, thank you very much.
But thank you very much. Nice talking
And
to you.
You too. This was awesome. This was awesome. Um, well, thank you, and maybe again some other time.
Okay, great.
Bye.
Sending you so much love. Bye.